So for this game I thought I'd try out a British Army, and there I've got the Sherman tank just with his 75mm. I've then got an AEC armoured car with a 75mm as well. There's a Valentine and then a Stuart 3. These are all regular. I've got 2 trucks and a universal carrier and a jeep. Infantry wise I've got 2 units of veteran late war infantry, and they're armed with rifles. And then I've got 1 unit of 5 Gurkhas. They go in the universal carrier. I've got a lieutenant, and I've got the artillery observer. I've also managed to sneak in a sniper. As you can see, it is a tank platoon, and that's what we're using in our tournament, which is the tank rules. Another practice for our tournament of when the Tigers broke free. We're doing a scenario called frontal assault, and the table is divided up into 2 diagonals. Deployment for the defender is 8 inches from the side and the backboard. There's 2 objectives that you can see there, which the defender has placed, and in the centre of the table is a 3rd objective. Aim of the game is to have more objectives than the other players. So Colin's doing the Japanese again today. He's put his 2 infantry units. They are on bicycles. He's got those on order from the States, so they should be coming in at some stage. He's put down his, I think it's a Chi-Ha, that could be the light anti-tank, or it could be the light howitzer one, I can never remember. But he's got another tank over there. I've placed my air observer over in this building. Could be a little bit of a risk of getting shot. I've got a sniper in the wood here, and I've got my AEC armoured car parked on the side of the wood, and then I've got a truck with an infantry unit in, and then further over I've got a jeep with a 2nd lieutenant. We're just about to draw the first dice. Deployment was alternate. Colin putting 1 down, then me putting 1 down. End of turn 1, and the Japanese are taking defend to a whole new ball game, and they have advanced to come out of the buildings to attack the British. The air observer has, the artillery observer has decided to move back a little bit as the tank advances and the bike riders advance. The AEC took a shot at the Japanese tank but missed, and then the 2nd Japanese tank took a shot at the AEC, and the AEC recce'd away. Some small exchange of small arms fire from the sniper against the 1st bike squad. It put 1 pin on, but they passed their leadership test to move and got rid of it. So a very quick turn 1, and we're now into turn 2, where we'll be able to bring on the reserves. End of turn 2, and quite a lot came on. Obviously the vehicles in reserve can come on, and 2 of the Japanese tanks came on from the flank, and I brought the Sherman on from this side, and the Valentine came on this time, and also on the centre is a Stuart. The Sherman came on, took a pot shot at the Chi-9 and was able to immobilise it. Shots from the Japanese tanks fortunately missed the Sherman, and the machine guns did very little to the infantry. The Japanese infantry on their bikes pedalled very fast up to the front of the building. The AC armoured car took a shot at the Chi-9 and again immobilised it, so therefore it was destroyed. Tank in the middle missed its shot, fortunately, and you can see the little suicide man has come up in the jeep, and the little suicide man jumped out of the wood to come and threaten the British armour. The British truck came on, and the infantry debussed, and we've even been within 6 inches, took a shot at the little veteran, put a pin on him, but didn't kill him. So he's still a threat for the first dice that's coming up. The British artillery observer was able to spot out the Chi 9 when it was still alive, so he put on a marker. So that's going to be coming in beginning of turn 3. So fairly evens, I would have thought, at this stage. We're going to see how the dice roll for turn 3. End of turn 3, and what happened? The British artillery came in and put 3 pins on this tank, put three pins on this one, and 2 pins on the guy here. The infantry unit that were here got pins, but obviously they banzai charged into the Sherman, which was over here, and I've got a picture of the combat that went on. I charged my infantry section into the Japanese, and of course the Japanese fanatic rule meant that we kept fighting combat, which left him 1 man, and that was a Japanese officer. And I was lucky to be able to take a couple of shots with the artillery observer, and it killed the officer. Here's a quick picture of the action, and this is the Japanese squad that's banzai charged into the tank trying to destroy it. Didn't manage to do that, but you can then see the British infantry unit which countercharged into the Japanese, but unfortunately were wiped out by the Japanese, which left the sole officer, who was then shot at and killed by my observer team. Tanks have been a little bit ineffective on my side. The British tanks have shot but didn't put any damage on the Japanese. Just a couple of pins from their shooting. In the centre, the British section took out the kamikaze guy and is holding the objective. The Japanese advanced up with their jeep and the flamethrower team, and I took the opportunity to recce away with my Stuart. So, end of turn 3, fairly balanced still, although the Japanese have lost 3 dice and the British 1 dice. So, moving into turn 4 now. End of turn 4. So, what happened in turn 4? Well, the kamikaze guy got the first dice and ran behind the Valentine and was able to blow it up. Second dice out of the bag was for the British, and they charged the Japanese flamethrower and took him out. The Japanese tank failed its leadership test and reversed back towards the house. The 2 British tanks here advanced up and shot but didn't do very much at all. The Sherman took a shot at the Japanese tank in the cornfield, the one which is the painted one, and took it out this turn. Unfortunately, the little kamikaze guy has managed to get here, and again it's going to be the first dice out of the bag is going to be an important pull to see whether he gets to attack the Sherman. Outflanked with the unit of Gurkhas on the left flank from the brain carrier, they got the 2 dice that came out. The first brought them on, and the ambush anti-tank rifle took a pot shot at the carrier. Only managed to hit it, but didn't manage to penetrate it. The troop squad jumped out and took a shot at the anti-tank rifle, only put in 1 pin on them. And then the next dice out was Japanese tank, which came out, took a close range shot, but only managed to kill 1 and put 1 pin on. So again, we're going to have to see the order of the dice that comes out quite carefully. So at the moment, we're looking at the objectives. Japanese are holding 2, and the British are holding 1, as we move into turn 5. End of turn 5, and the Sherman is still surviving. However, it took an immobilised and an on fire. It managed to put the fire out, but it's now immobilised. The Japanese tank was able to reverse back to get out a little bit out of the way. The Japanese squad in the middle passed its leadership test and moved across to form on the objective. The Gurkhas in the building took some heavy fire from the Japanese tank and lost half of their men, but they managed to pass their test. And then the Japanese unit here shot them. Didn't kill any, but put another pin on, so there's 3 pins, but they fortunately passed the leadership test from the tank that was did the most damage. British are advancing from over the hill. The infantry squad have run towards the objective and the tank here. I'm not sure it's going to fail its leadership test again. It's failed 3, but maybe hoping 4 is a little bit too much. The Stuart is pressing on forward, and the AEC has moved up to try and get rid of the tank that's holding the objective there. So moving into turn 6, unlikely that the Gurkhas will remain, but we shall see. End of turn 6, and the Japanese are slightly ahead. The Japanese squad from the objective charged the building and had a good old contest with the Gurkhas, and the Gurkhas were able to take them down to 4 men, but sadly the Gurkhas died. So objective wise, we're now looking at the Japanese holding 2 at the end of turn 6, and the British have held the objective over here, so 2-1. Strategies though. The little jeep with the second lieutenant has made a dash around the back and just might be able to get to contest an objective. The infantry section have moved up to the corner of the field and are threatening the tank which is holding the objective in front of the building. The Stuart is still alive, and the AC is still alive and mobile. So we're going to have to roll a dice to see whether it goes on to turn 7. Colin, would you like to roll a dice? 1 to 3 it finishes, and 4 to 6 it continues.
5.
5 it continues. So as we move into turn 7, it's going to get messy. Well, end of turn 7, and it was right down to the wire. The Japanese jumped ship from one building to the other to be close to hold the objective, and Colin moved up the tank to the side of the British section and fired at the jeep, destroyed the jeep, got 1 hit on it, got a 6, destroyed it, put 1 pin on that. The second lieutenant inside the jeep took 1 hit, but was failed to wound. His last run round the building passed his leadership test, and it put him within 3 of the objective to contest. So if it had stopped at 6, Japanese would have had a good win, moved on to turn 7, unluckily for them, and that gave me the chance to get the objective. Colin nearly stopped me from getting there, nearly wiped out the jeep and the guy. But on dice, adding it up, lots of Japanese dead, and the British still fairly good, only losing 4 or 5 dice. So a win, turn 7 to the British.
Well, I bet some of you might be thinking that we made a big mistake in that last part of the game, and you would be right. We had packed up and I was on my way home, driving along. I've got about a 20 minute drive to home from Collins, and I suddenly thought, hang on a minute, when my jeep got hit and destroyed, my officer should have gone down, and he couldn't have advanced round to get to the objective. Yep, that was my mistake, and what should have happened then was the Japanese take the win, because they held the 2 main objectives. Yep, so it's always a problem when you forget some of the rules. But we had worked it out, so I gave Colin a ring when we got home, just to let him know that the Japanese did actually scrape that win at the end. If you like the video, please click the thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel. There's going to be some more battle reports coming up. Any questions or any comments, please put them in the fields below, and we'll get back to you. So once again, thanks very much for watching, and see you soon.